Between Me and You, Patrick Fyffe in character, today as Heston Cheveley in A Lift to the Beech.
When people have got over the shock of not having to pay for the ride, the first thing they say is, "Here you are, Heston, a little something for your back pocket." And they press a note into my trouser pocket, or sometimes into my cardigan. And the second thing they say is, "How do you make it pay?" And that's when I tell them, "Oh, I'm not in it for the money. Oh, no. I do it for the love of it." I mean, you've got to be dedicated to a job like this. But then again, I don't see it as a job. It's a pleasure. Oh, you should see the pleasure on people's faces when they first step into my lift. Oh, yes. Transported they are, stepping into a wonderland, you see. Of course, it wasn't quite like this when I took it over. And during the war, it was out of use, with both its windows blocked up, suspended halfway up the cable between the prom and the sands, with the wind blowing it from side to side. There was talk of dismantling it, a public danger, you see, but they never did, oh no. And it stayed like that till the 1950s, when they decided to get it going again. I think they got the idea from the Festival of Britain. We should have another of those, you know. Blackpool in Battersea, I called it. Blackpool in Battersea. When I first heard they might be getting the old lift going again, I said to my late wife, "How about me applying for the job?" "What use?" she said. "You've been in flour all your working life up to now. What would you know about operating a lift?" Looking back, I suppose she was right, because there was no wages to speak of, and with a young family to support, it wasn't economical at the time, oh no. But later, when the opportunity did arrive, I was at the head of the queue. Well, I was the only one, to be honest. It was the accident that put people off applying, I suppose, because old Teddy Bandage, who'd run it up till then, had done a reasonable job. He'd taken it on after he'd retired from the Home and Colonial, and he'd looked after it as best he could. It was like a second home to him in some ways, because he'd spend the night there sometimes if he and his wife had had a few words, which was what had happened the night of the accident. The lift was up at the top by the prom, and he'd got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, and it appears that as he opened the door to go out, he reached for the switch to put the light on, and of course that was it. You'd have thought he'd have had more sense after all those years working a bacon slicer and a cheese wire. Found him face down on the beach in the early hours, and the lift still in operation. Some say that on a really windy day, it's not the seagulls you can hear, it's Teddy's cry as he fell to earth. But I don't think so. Oh, no. Well, they said to me at the council offices, "Mr. Cheveley," they said, "do you think you are the right man for the job?" Do I think I am the right man for the job? Give me the opportunity and I'll show you I am. And I like to think that's exactly what I've done. Oh, yes. After all, it was me who introduced the music. My little transistor works beautifully up on the shelf there, which reminds me I must pop into Woolworths and get a new battery for it. It does have a habit of fading out when we're about 15 feet from landing. That's what I say to them, you know, when we're about to reach the sands. "Prepare for landing," I say. "Please extinguish your cigarettes and kindly refrain from smoking in the toilet." You want to see the look on their faces. "Have you got a toilet on board then?" they say. Oh, I've thought about it, oh yes. But it wouldn't be one of my better ideas. For a start, you'd need one of each, and it would spoil the look of things. But I'm hoping the refreshments will catch on. It's purely the time it takes to pour the tea and hand the sandwiches round after we leave the promenade. At present, the trip takes 3 minutes from top to bottom. But it's not really long enough to serve people and allow them to enjoy the full bill of fare. We've had a few practice runs with friends, just to get the hang of things. And there's only been the one accident up to now, Noreen Bartleman. And she comes out of hospital on Thursday. The doctors say eventually the scars will heal completely and she'll be able to lead a normal life again. I feel responsible in a way, well, with it being my lift, so to speak. But it does have a habit of stopping with a bit of a jerk, and hot tea down the back of your gumboot in a crowded lift can come as a bit of a surprise. But I've said to her, Noreen, I've said, when you've got the hang of your crutches, my lift is at your disposal. But like I said, 3 minutes is not really long enough to serve folk and allow them time to appreciate what's on offer. Germaine, my daughter, suggested that we might hand out the refreshments before take-off, which of course is a possibility, but it can be very windy on the prom. And then there's the fumes from the traffic. That could be a health hazard. And then the council could have me closed down before I've even got started. But I'm sure we'll come up with something suitable before long. I mean, I've never been one to be put off easily, once I've got the bit between my teeth. That's what my late wife used to say. Heston, she'd say, you've got one of your ideas again, haven't you? You're like a whippet at the starter's gate. I can always tell when you've got one of your ideas coming on. It's a funny thing, you know. It's as though she's here with me on occasions. You get that feeling, you know. Well, you're bound to when you've shared a lifetime together. In fact, there have been times when I could have sworn that I heard the wail of her mouth organ, just very slight. But when you've sat for 40 years either side of the fireplace with the same partner, listening to her play her own arrangement of the Whistling Gypsy and Dardanella, you don't forget easily. Well, it was a rare talent she had. It was a gift from above. And it can startle you. I mean, like the occasion of Noreen Bartleman's accident. No, you don't forget easily. People are always asking me who the man in the frame above the control panel is, and I tell them that's no man, that's my wife. That picture was taken at a Women's Institute charity fundraising do, and my Clarice was doing her impersonation of Ben Turpin. Well, she had the eyes for it, oh yes. She should have been on the stage, you know, my Clarice. But I don't think Ben Turpin played the mouth organ. She also did a very good Nellie Wallace. But it is in her memory that I have all the old theatrical posters here. Oh, yes. And the lace curtains and the fitted carpet. It's a sort of shrine to my Clarice. Apart from that, they're a topic of conversation. It's the same with the window boxes. Oh, she did love her geraniums and her busy lizzies. Oh, yes. This lift is a talking point for hundreds of miles. The Americans are the ones, though. Oh, aye. The times I've had my photo taken in this lift by the Americans. If I'd had £1 for every photo they've taken of me, I'd be a wealthy man by now. And, of course, they send their friends to see me, too. They look me up and they say, "We bring you greetings from the folks back home." Nice that, isn't it? Very nice. Oh, nice to think that I'm famous halfway around the world. Of course, what would be even nicer would be to be recognised by royalty. I don't mean, I say, isn't that Heston Cheveley over there? Oh, no, I mean properly recognised, so that it's said by royal appointment above me gates. Oh, yes, that would be very nice. But I don't suppose there's much chance of that happening, not here. Because unlike Bognor, we're not likely to become a Regis. That's because we're not frequented by royals. But who's to say it might not occur? I mean, after all, stranger things have happened. Talking of which, I've got a very nice little happening coming up in 2 months' time. A wedding. Yes, a wedding. And it's taking place right here in this very lift. In fact, the couple met here. I'd just taken her down to the beach, and before she could get out, he'd got in, and we were on our way up again. And when I took the next party down, they were still in. So when we got back up, I said, "Now, look, while I appreciate you feel at home in my lift, I do not want you taking root in it." But, you know, they didn't hear me. So I sort of just eased them outside and sat them on the wall and left them there. And when I went home in the evening, would you believe it, they were still there on the wall. Well, they came back a couple of months ago and they told me they were getting married. And would I let them get married in my lift, as this was where they'd met? And I said, well, if it's all right with the authorities, it's all right with me. And it was, and it is. So, we've got a vicar coming, and my Germaine is doing the catering. Now, on this occasion, it'll be outdoor on the beach, or al fresco, as she calls it. But the best thing of all, young Jasmine has asked me to give her away. She's got no family, you see. And she said, Mr. Cheveley, as Jet and I met in your lift, we feel it's a bit special. Oh, it is, I said, it is. Well, she said, as you've agreed to our getting married in it, there's one more thing I'd like to ask you. Would you give me away, please? Me, I said. Me? I said, you want me to give you away? Oh, yes, please, Mr. Cheveley, if you would. You see, Jet and I haven't got any family, so it would mean a lot to us if you'd say yes. Jasmine, I said, I would be honoured. And you know, before I could catch my breath, she'd flung her arms round me and she was jumping up and down like a mad thing. It was lucky I'd remembered to put the brake on, because this old lift doesn't take too kindly to being jigged about in. I said, hey up, young lady, we're not licensed for dancing, you know. Well, not yet, anyway. We both had a good laugh about that. A wedding. Then I suppose christening will be next. I say, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? A christening in my old lift. Who would have thought all those years ago that when they built this old lift, there would have been a wedding in it? Strange, isn't it, how things work out? Aye. And you know, I like to think that maybe I've had a little something to do with it. And in doing that, I've brought a little bit of happiness to folk in the process. And like the song says, if I can help somebody as I stroll along, then my living shall not be in vain. Oh, yes.
That was A Lift to the Beech, written and presented by Patrick Fyffe, in character today as Heston Cheveley. Between Me and You was produced by John Fawcett Wilson.